In 2010, construction workers building a highway through Chile's Atacama desert made a discovery that seemed impossible. There, in one of the driest places on Earth, they found whales. Not just one or two, but dozens of perfectly preserved whale fossils, lying in the middle of a desert. How did massive ocean creatures end up in a desert? And why were there so many of them in one place? The answers would reveal one of the most fascinating chapters in Earth's history. So let's begin. The construction site quickly turned into one of the most important fossil discoveries of the century. Paleontologists found not just whales, but seals, aquatic sloths, and even an extinct species of sperm whale. All of them were perfectly preserved, as if they had died yesterday, rather than millions of years ago. But the most puzzling part wasn't just their location, it was their position. Most of the whales were lying belly up, and strangely, they were all pointing in the same direction. Something catastrophic had happened here, and scientists were about to uncover a mystery millions of years in the making. The discovery was staggering in its scale. Within an area about the size of 3 football fields, workers found more than 40 complete whale skeletons. Among them were species that no longer exist today, including an extinct family of sperm whales with giant teeth and bizarre walrus-like seals. What made this find truly extraordinary wasn't just the number of fossils, but their condition. Skeletons were perfectly preserved, with every bone intact and in one place. Even the baleen, the soft hair-like filters that whales use to catch food, had left clear imprints in the rock, something almost never seen in whale fossils. The site was so rich in fossils that scientists had to work quickly before highway construction resumed. They used 3D scanning technology to create detailed digital maps of every skeleton. Some whales were so well preserved that researchers could even determine what they had eaten for their last meal. But the most intriguing detail was the way these ancient whales died. They weren't just scattered randomly, they were laid out in distinct layers, suggesting that these mass deaths happened not once, but at least 4 different times. Something kept killing large groups of whales in the same location, over and over again. Remember those whales in the desert we promised to explain? Here's where the story gets really interesting. Between 7 and 9 million years ago, the ground where these fossils were found wasn't a desert at all. It was the bottom of a rich, thriving ocean. The Atacama Desert, now one of the driest places on Earth, was once a vast marine ecosystem. The evidence isn't just in the whale bones. Scientists found fossilized marlins, swordfish, and even ancient penguins. It was a place teeming with life, more like today's Pacific Ocean than the barren desert we see now. But how did an ocean floor end up in the middle of a desert? The answer lies in one of the most powerful forces on Earth, plate tectonics. As the massive plates that make up Earth's crust collided, they slowly pushed up the Andes Mountains. This massive mountain-building process literally lifted the ancient seabed thousands of feet into the air. This dramatic transformation didn't happen overnight. It took millions of years of geological forces pushing and lifting, turning ocean bottom into mountaintop. The whales and other marine creatures were already fossilized when this happened, preserved in their ancient graves as the ground beneath them rose higher and higher. The incredible preservation of these fossils tells its own fascinating story. When these whales died, they sank to the ocean floor. But what happened next was extraordinary. Instead of slowly decaying or being eaten by scavengers like most dead whales, they were rapidly buried by sediment. Think of it like being quickly buried in sand at the beach, but on a massive scale. The sediment covered these whales so fast and so completely that it created perfect conditions for fossilization. Even their delicate baleen, the soft brush-like filters in their mouths, left clear imprints in the rock, something rarely seen in whale fossils. But here's what really caught scientists' attention. The fossils were found in distinct layers, each layer representing a different mass death event. It wasn't just one tragic event that killed these whales. It happened at least 4 different times over thousands of years. The sediment layers tell us something else important too. Between each group of whale fossils, there are layers containing normal marine life, showing that the ocean would return to healthy conditions between the mass die-offs. But what was causing these recurring episodes of mass death? Scientists found their first major clue in the way the whales were positioned. Almost all of them were lying belly up, and most were pointing in the same direction. This wasn't random. Something had killed these whales quickly, before currents could scatter their bodies, and they had died in a way that made them float belly up. The breakthrough came when researchers studied the surrounding rocks. They found high concentrations of materials that indicated massive algae blooms, explosive growths of toxic algae that can poison marine life. These harmful algae blooms are known to produce neurotoxins that can kill marine mammals even today. The theory fits perfectly with all the evidence. The toxic algae would have poisoned the whales when they came to the surface to breathe. After death, their bodies would have floated belly up until they sank to the sea floor. The same toxic conditions that killed them would have kept away scavengers that normally feed on whale carcasses. But what made these deadly algae blooms keep happening in the same place? The answer lies in the ancient geography of the area. This part of the ocean had perfect conditions for algae blooms. Warm water, plenty of nutrients from deep sea upwellings, and a coastline that trapped the toxic water in shallow bays. The whale graveyard held even more surprises. Among the fossils, scientists found a prehistoric mega predator, an extinct species of sperm whale with teeth bigger than your hand. This ancient hunter would have been one of the ocean's top predators, but even it wasn't immune to the toxic algae that claimed so many victims. The fossils also revealed something about ancient ocean currents. The way the whales' bodies were aligned matched the direction of what would have been powerful ocean currents millions of years ago. These same currents might have helped concentrate the toxic algae in this deadly bay. Modern whale strandings often involve just a few animals, or at most a dozen. But here, in this ancient bay, dozens of whales died together multiple times. This suggests that the toxic blooms were far more powerful than anything we see today, creating what scientists call a killing zone in the ancient Pacific. The site has become even more relevant today, as climate change makes toxic algae blooms more common in our modern oceans. What happened here millions of years ago might be a warning about what could happen in our oceans now. This ancient whale graveyard has become a crucial reference point for modern scientists studying mass marine die-offs. Today's oceans are experiencing more frequent toxic algae blooms, driven by warm waters and increased pollution. The Atacama fossils show us what can happen when these blooms reach catastrophic levels. In 2015, a massive toxic bloom along the Pacific coast killed thousands of seals and sea lions. While devastating, it was still small compared to the ancient events that created the whale graveyard. Scientists studying both events noticed alarming similarities in how the animals died and where their bodies were found. What makes this particularly concerning is that modern whales face this threat along with many others that didn't exist millions of years ago. Ship collisions, plastic pollution, and commercial fishing. The ancient whale graves suggest that even without these modern threats, toxic algae alone can cause massive die-offs. The discovery has also changed how we monitor whale populations. Scientists now pay special attention to areas where ocean currents and coastal geography could create conditions similar to those that killed the ancient whales, helping to predict where dangerous algae blooms might form. The discovery changed our understanding of how fossils can form. The rapid burial of these whales created what scientists call exceptional preservation, where even the softest tissues left clear impressions. Some fossils were so well preserved that scientists could study the whale's brain size and structure, giving us new insights into whale evolution. But perhaps the most valuable discovery was what these fossils revealed about ancient whale behavior. The fossils included mother-calf pairs, suggesting this was once a nursing ground where whales came to raise their young. This might explain why so many whales were vulnerable to the toxic blooms. They were gathered in large numbers for calving season. The site also preserved evidence of ancient whale parasites and diseases. Markings on the bone showed what kinds of health challenges whales faced millions of years ago. Some of these ancient ailments are surprisingly similar to those affecting modern whales, while others are completely unknown to science. The construction of the highway that led to this discovery was eventually completed, but not before the site was thoroughly documented using 3D scanning technology. Every fossil, every bone, and every detail was preserved digitally. allowing scientists to continue studying this remarkable gravesite even after it was covered by the new road. This ancient whale graveyard has changed how we look at modern mass die-offs. Today's whale strandings often make headlines, but the Atacama fossils show us that these events have been happening for millions of years. What's different now is their frequency. They're happening more often than at any time in recorded history. The discovery has been crucial for understanding how climate change might affect marine life. The conditions that created those ancient toxic blooms, warm waters, specific ocean currents, and high nutrient levels are becoming more common in today's oceans. Scientists are using data from these fossils to predict where similar disasters might occur. But there's a hopeful side to this story. Understanding how these ancient whales died helps us protect modern ones. Scientists now monitor ocean conditions that could lead to toxic blooms, giving them time to warn ships and fishing vessels to avoid these areas. What was once a mysterious killer is now something we can predict and prepare for. The highway that led to this discovery still runs through the Atacama Desert, with thousands of cars passing over what was once an ancient ocean floor every day. Few of the drivers know they're traveling over one of the most important fossil sites ever discovered, a place that continues to help us understand and protect life in our modern oceans. Today, the Atacama whale grave continues to influence marine science in unexpected ways. The fossils are so well preserved that scientists are still making new discoveries using advanced scanning techniques that weren't available when the site was first found. Each new study reveals more details about these ancient ocean disasters. The site has become a powerful reminder of how drastically our planet can change. A place that was once a thriving ocean, filled with whales, seals, and countless other marine creatures, is now one of the driest deserts on Earth. The massive forces that lifted these whale fossils from the seafloor to the desert are still at work today, slowly reshaping our planet. Most importantly, these ancient whales are helping us protect their modern relatives. By understanding how massive die-offs happened in the past, we're better equipped to prevent them in the future. What started as an accidental discovery during highway construction has become one of the most important windows into Earth's past. The next time you hear about toxic algae blooms in the news, remember the whales of the Atacama Desert. Their story, preserved in stone for millions of years, isn't just about death. It's about how understanding the past might help us save the future. See you later!